May the Lord richly bless you as we set him before us once again, looking at Psalm 35, which is real relevant for the times we're living in, and you'll see why. David is again crying out to God to aid him because he's surrounded by liars and schemers who are trying to either take his life, set traps for him. They're slandering him every which way he turns and doing everything they can to destroy him. And so he's calling out to God. In Psalm 35 is 28 verses, so it's a little longer than some that we've been looking at. And I'll only briefly say a few words at the end. Psalm 35 of David. Contend, O Lord, with those who contend with me. Fight against those who fight against me. Take up shield and armor, arise and come to my aid. Brandish spear and javelin against those who pursue me. Say to me, I am your salvation. May those who seek my life be disgraced and put to shame. May those who plot my ruin be turned back in dismay. May they be like chaff before the wind, with the angel of the Lord driving them away. May their path be dark and slippery, with the angel of the Lord pursuing them. Since they hid their net for me without cause, and without cause dug a pit for me, may ruin overtake them by surprise. May the net they hid entangle them. May they fall into the pit to their ruin. Then my soul will rejoice in the Lord and delight in his salvation. My whole being will exclaim, Who is like you, O Lord? You rescue the poor from those too strong for them, the poor and needy from those who rob them. Ruthless witnesses come forward. They question me on things I know nothing about. They repay me evil for good and leave me like one bereaved. Yet when they were ill, I put on sackcloth and humbled myself with fasting. When my prayers returned to me unanswered, I went about mourning as though for my friend or brother. I bowed my head in grief as though weeping for my mother. But when I stumbled, they gathered in glee. Assailants gathered against me without my knowledge. They slandered me without ceasing. Like the ungodly, they maliciously mocked. They gnashed their teeth at me. How long, O Lord, will you look on? Rescue me from their ravages, my precious life from these lions. I will give you thanks in the great assembly. Among the throngs I will praise you. Do not let those gloat over me who are my enemies without cause. Do not let those who hate me without reason maliciously wink the eye. They do not speak peaceably, but devise false accusations against those who live quietly in the land. They sneer at me and say, Aha, aha, with our own eyes we have seen it. Lord, you have seen this. Do not be silent. Do not be far from me, O Lord. Awake and rise to my defense. Contend for me, my God and Lord. Vindicate me in your righteousness, O Lord, my God. Do not let them gloat over me. Do not let them think, Aha, just what we wanted, or say, We have swallowed him up. May all who gloat over my distress be put to shame and confusion. May all who exalt themselves over me be clothed with shame and disgrace. May those who delight in my vindication shout for joy and gladness. May they always say, The Lord be exalted, who delights in the well-being of his servant. My tongue will proclaim your righteousness, your praises all day long. I see this as such a powerful and relevant psalm, even for today. A few days after this presidential election, President Trump was elected in a landslide in spite of all the cheating. And he, as I read this psalm, I can't help but think of just the attacks against this man that have been relentless really for 8 years, and especially ramping up. Just the level of vitriol and the traps they set for him, and trick questions, and slandering everything he says, and taking statements out of context to mean things he never meant, and the warfare, lawfare, using the deep state and the so-called Department of Justice to attack him and to go after his supporters, to raid his house and go through his wife's underwear drawer, and just demeaning things the deep state has done to try to take this man down. I think because they're afraid that he and his policies will bring to light their evil, self-serving schemes that have been doing so much destruction to the country. Um, and, and so I do see a parallel. It's hard not to see that in reading this psalm. But I think the more important parallel is that this is also what our Lord Jesus Christ experienced as he did his public ministry here on earth. And unlike President Trump, who is a flawed man who has made some bad decisions and said some hurtful things, we all have, but Jesus had no sin. They had no dirt on him. They had to manufacture all the evil they were spewing at him. They tried numerous times to trap him in something that would cause him to blaspheme God or to sin in some way. Every good thing he did, they turned it into some evil scheme. And ultimately, the power brokers of his day seemingly won out in their plot to kill him, ultimately. But they were falling into what God had planned all along. And evil always will end up on the losing end, and it always ends up that whatever dark schemes they planned, as David prayed, that they would fall into the pit they dug, that they themselves would be caught in the trap they have made, that as they crucified the Lord of glory, even as he died, he defeated evil with his love and joy as he prayed for them. It says in 2 Peter 2 that as they hurled their insults at him, he did not retaliate. He made no threat. He didn't pull out the God card, but he entrusted himself to the Father, knowing that this was the Father's will to rescue the human race, even his haters. As he cried, "Papa, forgive them. They know not what they do." He was talking about the very Sanhedrin, the power brokers of the Jews, and the Roman complicity with this, and even the Roman guards that had driven the spikes through his hands as they obeyed their orders. He was saying, "Father, forgive them." Truth and light and goodness and love and God wins. And darkness is going to be relentless until it finally goes down at the end when the King comes back. And so I'm celebrating and thankful. It seems that goodness and truth have triumphed in this present day for a bit. But please understand, evil's going to regroup. It's relentless, and it's in a corner now and vicious. So don't be surprised if some more wicked stuff doesn't come spewing out of the mainstream media and the deep state and all that. Brace yourself, setting the Lord before us, and we become unshakable. God bless you.